Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Forgive the blindness as you see that I am being blinded by the light. Coming to you live from a beautiful city here in Washington called Spokane. Happy Monday. Starting your week off is exciting. If you look behind me, let me see if you can see the gondolas down there. Beautiful gondolas. This is the waterfalls here in Spokane, right downtown. As you kind of do a little panoramic with me, and you look around here, you'll see all the old architecture, and it's just magnificent. The old bridge here, I mean, this bridge is really, really old. But what I want to talk to you about today is a couple things. Last week we talked about storms. We talked about weathering storms. We talked about pruning back limbs that were dead on a tree to allow the tree to grow back stronger and be more proficient and more efficient and succeed more the following season, right? And we talked about how we got to metaphorically prune back our limbs and see how we can become better each season as each season passes in our life. But one of the things I want to speak to you is, again, you've heard me talk about this topic a lot, and you're going to hear me talk about it a lot more, because this topic is key to success. Spiritual success, financial success, marriage success, family success. I don't care what it is you're looking for in this world. If you're looking for, that black hole in your heart to get filled, if you're looking for, that desire of your heart to be fulfilled, whatever those things are that you're trying to fill, a lot of times we never fill those things. They're almost like big black holes, but that's because we don't have someone to kind of walk us through the process. So what we want to talk about, again, you've heard this scripture quoted 1,000 times, but it's Proverbs 23:7, which says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Now, on my wrist is the tattoo in Hebrew right there under the watch, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." It's tattooed on me because it literally is my favorite scripture of all scriptures in the Bible, the Quran, the Vedas. I don't care what faith or what spiritual book I have read from, that is my favorite scripture. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Man, that just gets me so excited when I think about that. Now, when I look at the waterfalls, in my heart, I think I could probably swim those waterfalls. But my cameraman right now, when I said that, looked at me like, "You been smoking crack?" And that's okay. My heart thinks I can swim those falls, but I won't be able to. So there's a difference between reality and belief. And what I mean by that is, do I believe I could swim up that? I do believe it, but I also know the reality says I'm not going to be able to swim up it. But that's what happens in life. You see, we look at obstacles like a waterfall metaphorically in our life. Like those falls, we look at maybe cancer. And you have to understand, if you don't know my story health-wise, I'm going to give you the fastest version of it. 4 massive heart attacks, or as they call them, MIs. I've had 4. 2 massive strokes. 32 mini strokes, and I just had, unfortunately, the 33rd one. They're called TIAs. I've had numerous tumors removed from my head, the brain, the stomach. I've had cancer. I have battled so many health problems. I have been at death's door over and over and over. I have been being told by doctors that I've been terminal 4 times. 4 times. Yet I'm still here, baby. And I'm still pushing strong. How is that possible? How is it possible that the guy that I went through my rehab with when I had my stroke is still sitting in his couch and can barely walk? Now, this is a fine subject, and I'm not going to pick on my friend. Please understand that. I'm not saying it's his fault for being where he's at. There's genetics, there's medical reasons. Some nerves, once they're severed in the brain, those pathways, the neurological pathway, can never come back from that. But they told me that too. And I said, hell no, I won't go that road. See, you told me I couldn't swim up that medically, meaning that I couldn't accomplish walking again, talking again, learning to play the guitar again, learning to have all my faculties and be able to speak again professionally. You tell me, no, I can't do that? You're out of your gourd. You're out of your mind. Because I'm here to tell you, I swam up those falls, metaphorically. I overcame the strokes and the heart attacks. And I refuse to sit back on the sidelines and allow people to say to themselves, well, no, that's just, he got lucky. No, I didn't get lucky. Again, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I literally would play audios in the headset of me recording messages, and I would say positive affirmations. And I know a lot of people say, oh, that positive affirmation stuff, that's that whole think good vibe stuff, and you'll get rich quick kind of thing. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Yeah, it's a bunch of hogwash. What? Really? Because I know, a few thousand millionaires that I've met in my life where that hogwash is what they accredit their success to. And what I mean by that is this. See, as we think something in our mind and we believe it in our heart and we listen to affirmations speaking those things into existence, like Paul said in the New Testament, speak those things that are not as though they were. See, I wasn't walking, and yet I was talking to people, telling them that I'm about to start walking and that I'm pushing hard to walk, and I'll be walking by next week. Now, I didn't walk the following week, by the way. Matter of fact, I didn't even walk the following month. Matter of fact, I think it was 9 months later after the rehab that I actually was able to start walking enough to get from the room I was in at the rehab down to where they called it the chow hall, the mess hall, okay? 9 months. But every week, if you came to me, I said, I'll be up there next week. I'm pushing. I'm trying. I'll see you next week at the end of that hallway. And I didn't. Now let me ask you this question. What would have happened if I didn't believe that thought, think it first in my mind, believe it in my heart, hear it in my ears, speak it out of these lips? Had I been the guy who, by the way, is a friend of mine and was a roommate at the rehab, had I listened to his words, because every day he got up and he's like, oh God, another day. Well, we lived another day. And I thought to myself, and I told him this, brother, you're jacked up, man. You are messed up in the head. He's like, I know. He could barely talk. And I'm like, no, where you're messed up in the head is you got stinking thinking. Listen to me. Stinking thinking is when he would wake up and tell me, oh, I'm never going to be able to walk again. This is it. This is life. This is what they tell you it's going to be like, so that's what it is. And he literally mentally prepared himself to do absolutely nothing with his life. And unfortunately, his wish was the great architect's command, meaning the universe actually gives us back what we sow. And he was sowing seeds of negativity about his health, and he still to this day does. And he never understood or listened to me, and I wonder what would have happened had he. Because I have many other clients in my life that are friends that when they went through their stroke and rehab, they called me up and said, I'll pay you whatever you want. Come to me. I need you to teach me how you did it. Now that's an interesting thought. Mentoring people into a lifestyle of positive affirmations, positive thinking, and positive outlooks and outcomes. Interesting. I just closed on a deal for a business transaction, a 7-figure deal. The interesting thing was, as I flew into the town back east to close this deal, I found myself going right back to the trainings of men and women in my life who trained me to be like this. And I remember as the plane was landing, I started telling the person with me, I was like, man, this deal is amazing. I cannot believe we're about to close on this. And the person's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't jump the gun. We're not closed. We're not even near closed. Closed? What are you talking about? Well, how about let's just pray and hope it works. I looked over and I said, praying and hoping it works, those don't work in my category. Praying, believing, and manifesting it, absolutely. You see, there was a guy named Jesus. They called him the Christ. And right before he left this beautiful realm that we live in called Earth, he said, you will go on to do greater things than I did. Now, he raised dead, and he did all kinds of things. He healed the blind eyes and a bunch of stuff that has been accredited to his ministry. And he's saying we're going to go on to do greater and better things. Now, I have had, unfortunately, the pleasure of suffering things in life. Loss, pain, suffering. But I've also had the pleasure of getting blessings where maybe I shouldn't have. And what I mean by that is if I would have followed well, let's be honest, the MO that everyone tells you have to have, that method of operation, you have to have it, right? You got cancer, so suck it up. It sucks. Go take your chemo, go puke your guts out, and go die in the corner. Every time I got a cancer, here's what I did. I celebrated and said, yeah, all right. This means I get to go into some cancer center, into some treatment center, some hospital wing somewhere, and somebody's about to get their life changed by meeting Mr. Positive. I am going to impact somebody's life today and make them a believer. A believer in what? In themselves, which is God. You see, everyone looks at like the towers in the background and the church steeples. Everyone's looking for God there. I'm here to tell you, if you go to a church building looking for God, you will not find it. For God is not there at all. But I will tell you where God is. Where the sick people are. Where the downtrodden people are. Where the depressed people are. Where the oppressed people are. That's where God's at. And so what we find is God is also where the joy is. He's where the blessings is. God is everywhere at all times. The question is, are you going to tap into the creative stream that ebbs and flows throughout eternity and tap into your greatest potential? Or are you going to sit by the wayside and handle the same old MO that everyone else does, which is, woe is me, it's just so horrible. I'll tell you a story. I'm in the hospital in Skagit Valley on the other side of the state, and I had a heart attack. I think this was my third heart attack, if I remember. This was the third one. Don't quote me on that. It could be the second, but I'm pretty sure it was the third one. And I'm in the room, and, I live on the same street. It's a hospital. It's literally 3/4 of a mile from my house. And so every day my kids would come by and see me on the way back from school. And this one day in particular, there's a man in that same unit. Not in the same room, just in the same unit as I was. And it was the cardiac wing. And he also had one heart attack. This was either my second or my third. And the guy's sitting in there and he's belly aching for like an hour. Oh, I wish I was dead. I'm going to die. Oh, God, I'm going to die. And he would yell this. I mean, I'm talking like every 15, 20 minutes you heard it. I looked at my nurse and I said, could you shut the guy up? It's so negative. She goes, rolls her eyes and she says, I wish we could. And then I said, well, I think it's time I get up and start walking. So she goes, okay. So I grab my walker and, the robes they got, right, with the back that's split and stuff. Don't tell anybody, but I'm that guy in the hospital that always walks with the robe undone in the back. So there I am, right? I got my old man keister hanging out the back. I got my walker and I'm moving as fast as I can down that corridor. I get to his room and there's a curtain right there. And he literally, the guy just says, oh, I'm about to die. And I fling the curtain over and I said, well, for God's sake, would you get going then and die? Close the curtain and I do my old man wobble back to the room. Now, the whole place erupted, actually. The whole entire wing. And there was only about 8 or 9 different nurses there, but they all started clapping, and you heard people saying, thank God. And then I get to my room, and not even 5 minutes go by, and the charge nurse walks in. And that's the head honcho for that, ward. And she looks at me, she goes, Mr. Brown, if you do something like that again, I'm going to have to kick you out. or I'm going to have to transfer you to another hospital, or I'm going to have to do something. I can't have you yelling at patients. And I knew I was probably in the wrong, and I say probably, but here's what happened next. She looks at me and she goes, with that said, I've done my job. Now, me and the girls all want to know, where do you want dinner tonight? Because we're going out to buy you dinner. Thank you so much for getting that guy to shut up. An hour goes by. They delivered me a burger, which they were so supposed to not. And I eat my little burger. And then that guy tells the nurse he wants to see me. So the charge nurse comes down and tells me she wants me to meet the guy. That he wanted to talk to me. So I figured that was where he was going to blow up at me or tell me off or what have you. And having had thick skin, that was okay. So all of a sudden, the nurse comes in, she opens the door, and here's the old guy, right? And he's got his little wheelchair, and they wheel him in there. And he looks at me and he goes, so are you the young man who yelled at me? I say, yes, sir, that was me. He goes, thank you. And I said, what? That wasn't what I was expecting. He says, no, he says, thank you for slapping me. He says, I was an old, dumb idiot. He says, what's wrong with me? He says, I can't believe I actually did that. He says, I'm shocked. I was a very successful person. I'm not that kind of a guy that always talks negative. And I said, it happens to the best of us, pal. I've done it before, and I'm literally known as Mr. Positive. But yet you can still be negative. And he laughed, and we had a great time talking. And when we went through our cardiac rehab, we had that connection, and instantly this guy started to get out of a wheelchair, and he got into his walker, and he's moving around the hospital with me. Now, had that man stayed in that bed and in the same mindset of a negative person, I'm here to tell you right now, that guy would still be sitting in that hospital wing in the bed, belly aching, and probably would be dead. What we think in our mind, believe in our heart, we can manifest it. I'm not talking about hocus pocus here, people. I'm not talking about this. I believe that this is going to turn into gold right now. I believe it. Okay, it didn't turn into gold. Dang it. But I did say it, I did think it, and I believed it. We're not talking about hocus pocus BS. But here's what we are talking about. We're talking about how a man like myself was in a career in sales in a field that the average salesman got 3 out of 10, meaning for every 10 clients, 3 of them purchased. And that was good numbers. Except mine were up in the 7 out of 10 numbers. So how is it the rest of the industry gets only 3 out of 10, 30% closing ratio, and I'm up in the 70% closing ratio? They had billion-dollar companies trying to figure out how to bottle what I had. I literally was paid a fortune, millions of dollars, to try to bottle what I had. Funny thing was, as a young man, I was actually giving all the secrets away. I didn't even know I was giving it all away. I didn't realize what I actually had in my hands, which was the secret to everything, which is a simple word. Believe. I believed. I would sit in the car before I got into the client's house, and I would actually write up the paperwork in the car. Wrote their names, filled out all the information that I could fill out without having them there. I prepared mentally, and I had the mindset that they were going to buy. And then when I got down to it and I assumed the close and just brought the paperwork out, well, only 3 out of 10 said no. And I was kind of sad. And I remember there was one year that I was like, this is unacceptable. And it was unacceptable because one of my bosses told me, well, if you can get 7 out of 10, why can't you get 10 out of 10? And I'll never forget that actual month where I went 10 for 10. Not for 1 week, not for 2 weeks, not for 3 weeks, but for the entire month. Every 10 clients, I sold them. I was somewhere in the high 90s. It was like 98, 97% closing ratio for the month. They literally didn't pay the commissions on it because they were worried I might have said a bunch of stuff to lie to them, because nobody buys 9 out of 10 people. They just don't do that. Until they looked at the recordings of the video of my presentations and said, wow, you did nothing. How did they buy? And I just pointed right here. I believe. I spoke it. I thought it. I believed it in my heart. And it manifested 7 out of 10 times. So, for heart attacks, if on heart attack 1, I had taken the attitude of the other gentleman, oh, woe is me, you don't understand, these heart attacks are serious, this is no game, this is a serious thing. Had I done that, instead of, okay, this is serious, I need a lifestyle change, I need my diet change, I need exercise change, I need an entire mindset change for my cardiovascular system. But also, we're going to beat this thing. You want to know why? Because me and God said so. See, I'm one with God. So are you. And early in my life, when people said, how are you so blessed? And why does money just come to you? Why do people that have money want to give you money? Why do they do that? It's real simple. They see the manifestations that come out of my life. That's what I want for you. For all of my followers of TCI, for all of our church members, for everybody that follows this channel, for everybody that's involved in our local ministries, in our international ministries, in our prison ministry. We've got an amazing prison ministry. I have a pastor now on the inside of the prison, ironically, working from the inside out, finding all the evil, hardcore killers out there. And you know what? He sends them to me. And he tells them too. He's a big ball of jelly. That guy, he's going to love on you. And they're like, love? Well, we don't love. You will when I'm through with you. You'll love everybody. And you'll love telling people, I love you. Because guess what? JB loves you. That's right. My name's JB. My friends call me Rev. So please call me Rev. I'm the senior spiritual leader at TCI, the Church of Inclusion. And we are here to start a revolution. A revolution that's going to transcend politics. Democrats, Republicans, that's something of the past. We are going to transcend races. Black, white, what's that? We are going to transcend genders. Gay, straight, I don't get it. We are going to transcend all aspects that everyone has been fighting over for so long with one word. Love. Love, baby, love. I believe in my minds and thoughts and in my heart that we can love everybody. Now, that doesn't mean I like everybody. There's a whole bunch of you out there I don't like at all. Sometimes the guy holding this camera. I can't stand him sometimes. What he puts me through, if you guys only knew. But I sure do love that man. And you know what? At TCI, you'll always find love, grace, forgiveness, people that are ready to help pick you up and take you to that next level. How do you swim those waterfalls? How do you navigate those waters? Let me tell you how. Watch me. Follow me. Because I've been through these waters. I've been through those waterfalls. I know where the little spots are that you can put your feet and you can put your hand and climb up that mountain. Climb up that waterfall. Overcome that obstacle. And that's what we do at TCI. We equip people with mentors who can help you get through those volcanoes, those earthquakes, those waterfalls, the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the storms. They're always going to come. They're never going to stop. If you think the storms are going to stop, they're not. And by the way, if you're wondering, well, your camera sure shakes a lot this time. It's because the guy holding it and me are standing out in about 19 degrees weather. It's chilly. So forgive the shaking of the camera today. So I want to leave the message with this. Life has lots of obstacles. We all know this. Some of you are going to receive bad news, job loss, family, someone passes, a disease, a terminal disease, a job that ends, a career that's crashed and burned and never coming back. No matter what obstacle comes your way, that's only 10% of life. 90% of it, baby, is what you do with it. So what are you going to do with it? You going to go crawl in the corner like that one guy and be like, oh, I'm going to die. Oh, I'm going to die. Well, do me a favor and do the world a favor. Hurry up and do it, would you? By the way, if you are a person suffering from suicide, there's no joke with suicide. Understand that, okay? So I'm not saying or making fun of anybody that has a suicidal tendency. I'm talking about the knucklehead out there who always cries and moans when he's dying. I'm gonna die. That's the guy I'm talking to right now. That's the gal I'm talking to. I'm speaking to you. Stop belly aching. Stop complaining and start finding the positive. Is it freezing out? Yes, it is. Is the sun blinding me? Yes, it is. Is my cameraman shaking? Yes, it is. It probably looks like we're on an earthquake moving platform with blinding eyes, and you probably are not going to even barely hear me with the noise from the background. Now, I could focus on just that. But here's what I choose to focus on, because that's just 10% of life. The 90% of it, what I believe in my heart, what I perceive and believe, well, that I manifest. And let me show you what I manifest. I see a beautiful day with a beautiful crisp sun blinding me with love. I see a man who cares so much about you that he's willing to stand out in the cold and shiver to death. I see waterfalls that are so majestic that it takes my breath away to think that all of this was created for you and me. Even the bridge. And you're like, wait a second, God didn't create the bridge. He didn't? Who did? A man, a woman, yes. Who created them? The divine. The divine has his hand, her hand in everything. So see, as I look around, I see beauty. I see love. I see life. Because I choose to focus on the positive, work at what we have to do to overcome the negative, and not allow ourselves to be surrounded by those people who would sit there and go, oh, I'm gonna die. Instead, let's all gather together. Maybe warm up because it's so cold. Let's all gather together and let's try to focus our minds and our hearts as one and see what we can do to change this world. I love you guys. God loves you. My cameraman's fingers probably too frozen to turn it off. So listen, as you go out this week, let's live a life that's positive. Let's live a life that's positive in a little warmer location. I love you guys. God bless.